Well, no sooner has Season 3 finished and the spoils are done and all the champagne's been sprayed, then we're on to talking about Season 4. And one of the things I really wanted to do at the end of this weekend, at the end of this season, was bring you some of the paddock rumours that have been spiralling around this paddock. And of course they always do. Some of them are a little bit fun, some may well end up coming true, who knows. But I thought I'd bring some of them to you now. And let's start with this apt Schaeffler Audi Sport team. There's no reason to change either of these drivers, in my opinion. They've both done an incredible job. I think Lucas di Grassi, clearly the champion, and Daniel Abt has done an amazing job of backing him up to secure that championship. So why would you change him? I don't think they should. Personally, I don't think they will. I think there's a deal being done behind the scenes. We haven't had it announced yet, but I think that's only a matter of time. So I don't think we need to look too far here before we get anything too suspicious. Loic Duval here, I suspect, and this is my opinion, I suspect has just had his last race, certainly for this team, possibly even in Formula E. I think he's had some issues with Jay Penske in terms of personality clashes. I also think Jay Penske would really like to have a driver in his car that can commit to a full season. And if you think back, Loic Duval missed races this year because of a clash with other events, other formulas that he's committed to. So I think they want a stable lineup next year. I think it's going to change. My tip for who goes in here, I think, may end up being the guy who put Loic Duval in the wall today, Robin Frins. What an interesting story that might be. Who knows, but I think there's going to be movement when it comes to the Faraday Future Dragon Racing team. It's been a tough year for the Venturi team. They even had to change one of their drivers halfway through this season when Stefan Sarrazin left the team to join Tajik. Tom Dillman came in and did a fairly decent job in the second half of the year. But what about Season 4? Now, I don't think there's been any decisions made here, but one thing I do know is that they're not going to make a decision quickly. They are going to be running a number of different drivers in a test at the end of August to decide who gets these two seats next year. So lots still to play for a number of different drivers who might be leaving other teams, might be wanting to get into Formula E, but definitely no decisions made, and these two guys are certainly not safe. And the Next EV team have had two good drivers in their cars this year. They just haven't had a car that has been good enough to support them. Now, I think there's going to be changes here. I think this team is going to struggle to keep the Season 1 champion Nelson Piquet Jr. in this car for next year. It's very difficult. How do you promise a driver that your car's going to be better next year until you've started testing it, and they just don't know that yet? I think Nelson Piquet is going to be off, looking for another drive, and there are one or two available around the other ends of the pit lane. That leaves a seat open here. I wonder if somebody like Alex Lynn, if he's not snapped up at Virgin, could end up here next year at Next EV. Right, the Tajik team, I think, have some decisions to make. They've got Jev in one car. He won the race today. He's done a good job with this team. He's come in and actually delivered some decent results for them. I think he's nailed on as staying. He's also very well connected with the owners of this Tajik team. I don't think he'll be going anywhere. Stefan Sarrazin, on the other hand, I'm not sure about. He's one of the ageing drivers, if you want to put it like that, in Formula E. And do they want him as a long-term prospect? I think he's done a good job for them, but I think he's the one question mark here. Particularly when you think about who's coming into this team in the future as a big partner. I think there's a big rumour that DS might end up leaving the Virgin team for Season 5 and joining Tajik. Does that mean they want a full-on French-backed team with two French drivers, or do they want to mix it up? Who knows? But I do think over the next year and a half there could be some significant movement here. Now, Jaguar had a really tough first season in Formula E, but they've had difficulties as well between both of their drivers. I think Mitch Evans has done a really, really good job. Adam Carroll's not done a bad job given the equipment he's had to play with, of course, but I don't think his results have matched up equally to Mitch Evans, and that leaves the team with a fairly difficult challenge on their hands, because it also actually excites half the paddock here in Formula E, because we all seem to think that this could be one of the vacant seats for next year. Adam Carroll, I don't think, will be retained. That's my opinion. No decisions have been made yet. But that leaves his seat open, and that means that there have been a number of names linked to what could be one of the potentially good vacant seats for next year. If this team can deliver on the promise that they say they already have with the technical developments they've made for Season 4, this could be an exciting prospect. Massive global car brand in Jaguar, huge resource. If they get a good car behind them, that could be a great prime seat. Now, I've heard names, everything from Nelson Piquet Jr. to take that seat, perhaps even Sam Bird being swooped by Jaguar to take him in. If they don't take Sam Bird, perhaps Alex Lin, if he's not retained by Virgin as well. And of course, don't forget, they've got a third driver already in Ho Ping Tung, so perhaps he could be given the opportunity. Who knows, but I think this is one of the teams where I can see there being some definite movement and definite changes ahead of Season 4. Now, the MSM Lin Andretti team, I think, is a team on the brink of change as well. Not least because BMW have committed to bringing more resource, more team personnel and more backing to this team, even more so in Season 4, ahead of a full championship assault as BMW for Season 5. That's going to have impacts right across the engineering team. There's already people instilled in this team helping behind the scenes, and that's only going to increase. But I also think it's going to have a dramatic impact on their driver lineup. BMW, I hear, are coming into this wanting to have a serious amount of control in the running of this team, and that will extend to their driver lineup as well. Antonio Felix da Costa is already linked to BMW. Perfect fit, done a decent job, lovely guy, does everything right in front of the cameras, he's a good fit, I think he'll stay. On the other side of the garage, Robin Frins at the moment has no connection to BMW. I think BMW are going to want to bring in a replacement for him that has their name logoed already on his shirt. And that man, I think, and all the rumours seem to suggest, and I think it's fairly nailed on, is a guy called Alexander Sims. He races for BMW in other categories already. He's not raced in Formula E, but he is a young prospect that looks very, very good, and I can see him coming in to complete that BMW lineup in Season 4, ready for that full assault in Season 5. So all change, I think, here. I can't see any reason for Mahindra to make changes. They've got two fantastic drivers in Nick Heidfeld and Felix Rosenquist, have delivered results for them, and they finished third in the championship. So why would you change anything? Personally, I don't think they will. The DS Virgin Racing team have got some really tough decisions to make over the next few weeks. They have 3 drivers under contract for next year. The 2 that we see here, Sam Bird and Jose Maria Lopez, 2 great drivers who've delivered fantastic results for them. Sam's been here since day one. Jose Maria Lopez has come in and done a great job. Even today here in Montreal, he pushed the leaders of this race all the way to the end. But the other driver, Alex Lin, of course, came in New York, did a fantastic job, put the car on pole in his first ever race. Everybody sat up in this paddock and took notice of what he was doing. I think he's got a bright future. He's a young kid. He's been doing a lot of work in the simulator here. What do DS Virgin do? Do they have to get rid of one of these 2 drivers who are already performing well to keep hold of Alex Lin, who may be a better longer-term prospect? Or do they sign these 2 and then have to release Lin because he wants to be racing next year? He doesn't want to be third driver for another season running. The way that decision is going to be made is that Alex Ty, the team principal, will take his recommendations to the board in the next few weeks, and a decision will be made off the back of that. The other thing to note here, not necessarily for next year, but beyond that, DS, I think, will be leaving this team and moving down the other end of the pit lane to join Techeetah as their title sponsor. Where does that leave Virgin? What do? Do they go as an all-out in-house Virgin Racing team only, or do they look for somebody else? Who knows? Lots of movement, though, here at DS Virgin Racing. Well, if there's one team where you don't need to change anything in terms of your driver lineup, I've got to say it's Renault Edams. You've just seen the champagne down there on the floor. For the 3rd season running, they've won the team's championship. Both of these 2 drivers are locked down for Season 4, so you'll see them both wearing blue again next year.